We have before us the opportunity to forge, for ourselves and for future generations, a new world order, a world where the rule of law and the law of the jungle governs the conduct of nations.
A warlord is a leader able to exercise military, economic, and political control over a subnational territory within a sovereign state due to their ability to mobilize loyal armed forces. These armed forces, usually considered malicious, are loyal to the warlord rather than to the state regime. Warlords have existed throughout much of history, albeit in a variety of different capacities within the political, economic, and social structure of states or ungoverned territories. Welcome to Internet Warlords, the war for the Internet. Every day billions of people around the planet engage in a deadly war for the minds of mankind. Internet Warlords podcast is dedicated to winning the war for the Internet. Each week, we will feature the best and the worst of the Internet in our never-ending quest to end the war for the Internet. Are you ready? Buckle up, check your feelings at the door. Sensitive individuals that need to be protected from reality need go no further. Internet Warlords does not condone violence, nor do we give legal advice. Any individuals featured on this broadcast are presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law.
Well, I'm not a crook.
As we do our final broadcast checks, please take this time to go to internetwarlords.com and find out how you can help support this broadcast. We have apparel and other items available at our online store. Donations are always appreciated but never expected. Please do enjoy yourself and feel free to call in at any time. Don't forget to subscribe and make sure to hit the bell icon for live notifications. Welcome to Internet Warlords. Let the war begin. Now your host, the CEO of Internet Warlords, CJ Abernathy.
Together, we will make America great again.
When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order.
And the glow from that fire can truly light the world. And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
That the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Well, long time no see. What's up, everybody? It's your boy CJ, the Internet Warlord, coming to you live and loud from the great state of Meth Dakota. You know Meth Dakota. It's the state just south of North Dakota, the state above Nebraska, the state formerly known as South Dakota, until the Queen of Meth herself, Governor Kristi Noem, declared by proclamation that, yes, we are all on meth here in the great state of Meth Dakota. She's still selling access to the President of the United States. You can believe that or not. She's going to get away with it for a second time here again. I can't believe that. Imagine if Joe Jorgensen comes to South Dakota and I say, hey, guys, before you meet Joe, you got to pay me $500. I think a lot of you would tell me to shut up, CJ. Go sit down. You're drunk. You're acting stupid. But this is the world we live in. People get away with it all the time. Now, tonight I brought back Internet Warlords because it's the first day I've had off without having to do anything really. And I needed a day of rest. I think we all need a day of rest when we bust our asses and we put in a hard day's grind and prepare ourselves for what's coming next. I've got nothing but sunshine in the forecast, so I'll be out in the cornfields. And you might be saying, well, CJ, you said you weren't going to do Internet Warlords while you're running for state senate. This is a really fucked up broadcast where you can say whatever you want, however you want. And again, it's as free speech as it gets, because first and foremost, I don't care about the algorithms. I'm not here worried about getting banned like the gentleman that will be joining me this evening. I don't have the big viewer base to worry about and whether or not I can be mass reported at some level. Although I wish at some point I would have those problems. I wish that I had a big enough platform where I could say, hey, I have 250,000 subscribers. Why is my video only getting 500 views? Does this make any sense to you? It doesn't make any sense to me. We are in a strange time in this country. 2020 is, well, it's going to end soon. But the problem is that after that is 2021. And we're going to be fucked either way. The election is fucked. It's set up to where we are going to war with ourselves. We are going to war, as I like to say, a civil war. A a war between people, where the government sits back and goes, yeah, don't worry, you guys can fight in the streets, and we'll tear gas, pepper spray you, violate your rights, we'll destroy any semblance of humanity, we'll lock you in your homes, make a virus seem like it's fucking out of nowhere, crazy real, and most of you will comply with it, and it's been a weird fucking election. But this is where, again, you have to vote right or you're going to die. That's it. I'm not fear-mongering. This isn't pandering. I am convinced at this point that in 2020, we either vote for freedom or we die. That's it. Straight up, this country is beyond a repair point. I watch the Orange Messiah, the Cheeto Jesus, and I look at this man. I watch this and I go, why? I see the crowds and I go, why? I study this guy and I ask, why? I fell for this. I admit, why? And I just, what is going on? This is live. He's talking live. I don't care to be listening and going, oh, please, Messiah, tell me what regurgitative narrative I must preach to these people next. You know what I found about being a libertarian? Let it be known. This is what I've said about being a libertarian. That I don't have to feel guilty when I criticize this man. There's nobody telling me, hey, CJ, if you want to fit into our circle, you better tell us good things about this guy. But do you ever notice this? Why is it that Republicans and Democrats try to convince their libertarian friends about their talking points? Why? Matt, you stayed up late just to see me, brother? Well, I appreciate that. I do have a special guest that will hopefully be able to reconnect, join me back in this broadcast, because he's truly one of the people that I believe is the counter narrative to this garbage. I'm not just saying, you know, I had this big plan before being the producer of Adam versus the Man that this broadcast would be my home, that I would be this warlord on the internet, that I would talk as much shit about this fucking idiot that I want. And to hell with whoever stops me. At that point, Joe Biden wasn't the nominee. I didn't know the Democrats would literally elect a kid sniffer and all of a sudden, or nominate a kid sniffer, and all of a sudden we've got this guy, a kid sniffer, and a doctor from South Carolina. And I've heard so many excuses being a libertarian on why we can't vote for a libertarian candidate. Well, what if I told you there was a libertarian candidate that we had, that we could have chosen, that would have put us at least I might be a little bit more conservative on the numbers, but at least polling at 20% of the nation to vote for him. This is a puppet show. He might as well have strings attached to his hands. When you look at somebody like this, and you see a crowd of people watching this guy, cheering him on like he's the Messiah, and then you see pictures and videos like this, where they all get together, and they're like, hey, buddy, hey, what's up, man? I saw you before. Hey, by the way, your side's into pedophilia. No, your side's into pedophilia, but hey, by the way, elbow bump. We still got you. Let this be the moment in time that you fucking idiots wake up. Oh, but CJ, it was for a special occasion. It was on the occasion where the government mass murdered people live in front of the world and then sending us into a perpetual ending, never-ending perpetual war in the name of fucking terrorism. Oh, it's bigger than that, CJ. It's 9/11. That's the one holy holiday. But I'm honored tonight, and in a short notice, to be joined by Mr. Adam Kokesh tonight. I not only do I respect the man's work, he's got a hell of a story himself. And I'll let him talk about what he wants to in just a moment here. But I got to say, it has been an honor to work with Adam. I don't necessarily feel like I work for, I work with. We have a great group of people that are helping to pull together a show that is the opposite counter narrative to obey or die. If you're gonna tell me obey or die, and those are my only two choices, I mean, where do we go from here? And one of the people that has led me to thinking completely different is Adam, and not just in how he conducts himself, but how he manages his time, his goals, his passions. And yes, on his show has said he is running for president in 2024. Well, yes, Mama Joe has my vote in 2020. Adam Kokesh is the man I want to be president of these United States. So without further ado, assuming that he is available and backstage, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Adam Kokesh is not available. Yeah. Oh, shoot. It was a great introduction until he has classic internet connectivity issues. But that's okay. I will say hello to the comments again, Matt. Thanks for staying up. Mr. Cole, you are welcome to click the link. As a reminder, there is a link in this description. Mercedes, hey, look, flag code violation, because even Mercedes knows that the flag is supposed to be aloft and free and not held horizontal and parallel to flat to the deck. That is a sign of disrespect in the flag code. So now that I've gone through those, I do have Adam. So Adam, are you audio or are you coming on as is? Thumbs up. You good?
Yeah, you can use my video.
Ladies and gentlemen, my guest, first special episode. The reason why I decided that it is this important to return, at least for one night, Internet Warlords, is because of Mr. Adam Kokesh. Where are you headed, sir?
Well, hey, this is a stress on my headset here to see if it works in my car with the window open.
In your best gardenia internet access, driving down the middle of nowhere, Adam, it's we're getting you frozen again. Man, I almost feel like leaving it up because this is gardenia internet. Sir, I'm gonna have to take you down because again, you're off grid there. Oh, well, we normally play this game called "What is Adam going to say next?" But AdamVersusTheMan.com is the website that you want to go. Again, if he comes back in, obviously, I will hop him up right in here. I see I got Matt backstage. You know, you can join me if you like, sir. It's just a conversation about 2020 that I feel is necessary. So, ladies and gentlemen, Matthew Baxley, a producer club member for Adam versus the Man, and my friend now. How you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing fantastic, CJ. How are you?
I had to go live tonight in order to tell everybody that this is
glad you did.
This is what it's going to
brother.
be. Man, I need to come out of the cornfield, but I don't. Adam is back.
There he is.
We can get him there. There he is.
Drop me. Bring Adam on. Yeah.
Bring Adam on. All right, Matt.
What's up, Adam? Drop me.
Hey, good to see you, Matt.
See you later.
Adam, classic internet issues.
No, of course. I'm on my way home from Flagstaff. I had to make an emergency run to the Home Depot tonight. Nothing exciting, just homesteading chores. But if I don't get my water system fixed, I don't get a shower tonight, except for a cold bucket shower. So I'm scrambling to get home with my car with the window that doesn't roll up, and I should be in with.
Adam, you are one of the best, but that internet is some of the worst, man. I feel like this is just. I feel like I should bring back Internet Warlords another day. Yeah, I won't leave you on just with people staring up your frozen nostrils. Matt, if you'd like to join me again, man, this is a 2020 election to me is not just about what we could have with the candidates. It's who and what we could have had we supported other candidates. And Adam is that guy that I wish we could have on that ticket this year. Because at some point you go, man, if you go back and watch his work, if you go back and you watch his videos, there's nobody that's told more truth about the crimes this government commits than Adam Kokesh. I dare I say, in the most honest of manners.
It's hard to swallow, man, because like it's a message that I believe in, and a lot of people get too hung up on it being too radical. But it's like, if you had talked about it 6 months ago and you start saying, well, if you dissolve the federal government, we're going to be in chaos, CJ. Like, that doesn't make sense. But now you look at the situation that we're in now, and it's like he offered a logical solution to the problem before all the shit hit the fan. And it's like, if we had just paid attention and been like, yeah, you know what? It sounds radical, but it actually is very pragmatic, and it makes a lot of fucking sense.
The way that I've defined it.
Go ahead.
The way that I've defined it to the people that I care about is to say, hey, we can abolish just this one piece that says, hey, they're putting us in perpetual wars, taxing us to death, and making our dollar useless, and we're slowly, losing every aspect of what makes America America through the expansion of the federal government. I mean, nobody can look at the national debt clock and go, yeah, those conservative Republicans, man, those socialist Democrats. No, man, like, it's just, the game is so stupid.
That's the fucked up thing, man. It is like, I still consider myself more of a conservative, but the problem is, like, the GOP is completely shit on the word conservative. Like, I believe conservative to be like control the national spending. Like, obviously we don't need perpetual debt and everything like that. And it's like, anybody that still supports, that calls himself a Republican and at the same breath uses the word conservative is a complete shithead. And like, they're completely lost on like what conservative actually means. Like, if you want to call yourself a conservative Republican, then you have to be fucking conservative. And there's nothing conservative about the Republican Party. And there hasn't been. I think we were both born about the same. We're both like 86, right? We're the same age. So like, in our lifetime, there has never been a conservative Republican Party. Correct.
And in that amount of talking, the federal government added $2.5 million just in you talking alone. So conservative government. See, I had the debt clock ready to go.
I'm sorry, I'm in the dark here, by the way. I wasn't.
No,
really prepared to jump on screen,
it's Internet Warlords, dude. It's the war for the internet. It's not. Yeah, it's not. This is not Fox News, CNN. I'm not. This is nothing. This is. But again, you kind of bring it up, like my Democratic Socialist friend, Mr. Chris Napper. Aren't we all dying right now with the right in the White House?
Thanks for the shirt, brother. I got that No Fox to get it from you, man. Love it. Wear it all the time.
Adam, your internet, Adam, is just classically classic.
I'm pulling over in Williams now. It should be solid.
Okay.
I made it. I made it down the hill.
Drop me. I'm waiting for the better conversation. I have nothing useful.
Thanks, Matt. We appreciate it, brother. Adam, where do you see us by November 3rd, 2020? Be honest.
Where? I mean, I'm going to be in Gardenia enjoying my freedom while the rest of you can go to hell.
Okay, besides your own sovereign country.
You can go to hell. I will go to Gardenia. No, but where's the country going to be on November 3rd? You know,
I mean, wait, sorry to interrupt you on my broadcast here, sir, but Gardenia does share at least four borders with the United States, correct?
Well, it's one border. We only have one border.
Okay, so you have one border technically with the United States. So you do share a border with the United States. So you do have an interest, at least in the country's, at least the state level, at least local level success.
Well, no, we have an interest in the continuation of the American federal bureaucracy and the military-industrial complex, because our primary financial, economic initiative for Gardenia is to declare war against the United States of America.
As he immediately,
then we qualify for, billions of dollars in foreign aid.
Okay, yeah, no, I would love to see Gardenia qualify for $1 billion aid, but you did get cut off while saying we declare war, and that was it. War. So it could sound like a terroristic. I'm just gonna stop that word too. It's Adam. I call you the most censored man on the internet for a reason. Do you want to know why? And I talked about I'm saying it's on the internet. It must be true. Actually, Adam, you gave me a unique perspective into the world of Adam Kokesh. You gave me the opportunity to be your executive producer and to look at what's going on behind the scenes. And I have the numbers to prove your censorship. I have the data. The thing between YouTube and data and Google is that they told on themselves. And that's kind of what you see when you look at the data, is that Google told on YouTube by providing you the analytics through Google of your YouTube.
Yeah, you think that they're not as clever as they think they are, or they're just so brazen that they know they can get away with it. And I think when you look at one of the things that I became aware of just through our recent experiences with censorship, and it's funny to be hit with two big ones just recently. One, having my Joe Rogan episode censored, being mentioned in so many, quasi-mainstream news stories about that. But then for those in your audience who don't know, we did a video on Thursday about the false positive coronavirus tests, covering two mainstream media stories, and not really I'm doing my own commentary, but I'm not extrapolating or interpreting. I'm just pointing out that if you have a test that has false positives and you test your entire population, every week, 10% or whatever it is that's false positive of your population will always be positive for corona. And then you have, just like the never-ending global war on terror, you have the never-ending war on corona. So the censorship, though, is really multi-layered, and as you point out, we can show how it's happening. The show that we did on censorship the week before with the panel was so good for me too, to prepare myself for these two other recent incidents, because there's an emotional component to this as well.
Yes.
When someone sews your mouth shut and you cannot speak, it hurts. It hurts emotionally. It hurts in your soul to have your voice actually cut off or taken away somehow.
So let's talk about this, Adam, real quick. So you've been listed alongside of names like Alex Jones, Gavin McGinnis, Milo Yiannopoulos, and to name a few that are missing from Joe Rogan's Spotify. And again, I'm not going to get into the specifics of Joe Rogan, but you've met him in person. Do you think that's something that he directed, or you think that's a bigger overall arcing message there in those guests specifically? Yourself included.
CJ, in this game, we are such small bit players by comparison to people like Joe Rogan. You want to look at me, as one of the, bigger name ID characters in
You
the
took fifth place out of 20, what, 3, 4? How many libertarian candidates? You take fifth place.
that's not even relevant. There's so much else we could complain about with that.
It is
But
in.
No, but I mean, the LP went with someone without name ID this year. I offered them someone with at least, a little bit of name ID.
That's a libertarian.
Right. Now, and if you calculate, it's kind of fun to say, hey, I got 250,000 subs. I got 80-something million views on my channel, plus, the old Adam versus the Man TV, RT channel, plus all the interviews I've done with other people, plus every mainstream media interview I've ever done, plus every interview I've done on every other independent media platform. And you go, wow, Adam, you've got a lot of impressions. Excuse me, you've reached a lot of people. And still, if you were to do the numbers for someone like Joe Rogan, I'm nobody by comparison.
Okay.
Hold on. Let me make the point about Joe Rogan, because you'll see this is more important than my navel gazing on, like, how big of a celebritarian is Adam Kokesh? But no, when you get as big as Joe Rogan, it's like getting as big as Google. When we look at the corruption of Google, it's impossible for us to say, are Sergey Brin and Larry Page really legitimately Hillary Clinton supporters? Or are they doing this because it serves them to preserve their autonomy as owners of Google, now Alphabet? Or is it because someone from the Clinton camp threatened them with suicide if they didn't comply? And we're talking about big, shadowy powers capable of that kind of coercion. So you really can't say, even with Joe Rogan, I don't think they go to someone like Joe and say, we put a gun to your head and say, all right, you're gonna do what we say or else. But they're able to manipulate him through, infiltrating his organization, his businesses, people around him, typical COINTELPRO stuff. So I don't want to say, when someone gets that big, how much are they a puppet and how much are they autonomous? Because from the perspective of us peons dancing around their feet, we can't tell from down here. And I think we have to maintain that humility that in the reality of the current power structure, the paradigm, the flow of information and attention on the internet, we're relative nobodies. The entire libertarian movement is a rounding error, sadly.
So we're essentially a product and an anomaly within the same context of the political structure that's in place. Is that safe to say? We're the end result, as you've called us, the most people have been affected by government in some way, shape, or form that leads them inevitably to become a libertarian. As I go back into your videos, because you're a week.
I mean libertarian media. Like, how many impressions, how many viewers does the entire libertarian media sphere get on a daily basis?
Interesting.
Compared to everything that's not libertarian, it's insignificant.
That is a true statement. So I guess then my question is to somebody like you, Adam, who says, "Hey, put your boots on. I'm going for 2024." Where do you take the message differently than what Joe Jorgensen and Spike Cohen are doing now?
Well, I got to say, for any of the complaints I could possibly have about Joe and Spike, I absolutely freaking love that we have two candidates who represent a message grounded in principle.
Yeah.
The core difference is the policy and how we get there. And I would be comfortable saying that, and I'm not sure what labels they use, but that Jorgensen and Cohen are essentially voluntarists. They're ethical libertarians who believe in the non-aggression principle, and they share our vision of a world set free in our lifetime.
I hear these talking points, Adam, but I go to a bigger point than this. I go, who better to tell us these things than somebody like you, that vetted Joe Jorgensen, that vetted these people, that ran against them, versus what you see in a Democrat Party. You see Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. You see Trump and Pence, and you go, yeah, but these are all being propped up. These are all money-driven. These are all big corporate, big government interests. state compelled interest to keep their racketeering, but what the Libertarian Party has offered is candidates like yourself and Jorgensen and Judge Gray and all these candidates, Vermin Supreme, that range, and we kind of find a gravitational towards a Joe Jorgensen and a Spike Cohen. What's it going to take for the Libertarian Party to go, okay, we have failed with name ID, we failed using washed up Republicans, we've failed at all these. What does it take to actually adopt your message of freedom and get that Libertarian Party to put your name into the top of the ticket next time? Because Adam, you got robbed in several polls that determined public opinion, that determined the libertarian outlook going into our convention, that made it so it looked like there was more support the way it was than what is actually there. Knowing this as a delegate, knowing this as somebody running for office, I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you these things, because I want you to be successful. I want your show to reach that media sphere where our libertarian audience is going, hey, I can see it. But one thing I want you to know, when they hit you for censorship, it was for impersonation. And Jim and I talked about it. I think Jim's right. They just said, click this last COVID video, hit an excuse, take the weekend off, see you all on Monday. Which tells me, if you're being this censored in the beginning of this iteration of Adam versus the Man, what are they going to do when Adam versus the Man reaches that pinnacle? When you've reached, like you say, this is as far as we're going to go with programs or format or even, and there's still dreams to build out, of course. I'm not going to say that you hit the plateau and that's all that we can do, because we can take the show to whatever levels. Since I've been in the cornfield, I've had a lot of time to watch you and your previous videos and go, how can I, as a producer, take 10 years, 12 years of his content and help bring him all of that into 20 years? Because you see it daily. You see, oh, there's the Man in the Hole video, and you go, yeah, but this is just setting up your Google account right. This is going into the back office and saying, okay, here's the Google ID for this, piece this puzzle together, put it on, all these techie things you don't want to hear about that I do. I go, that's why when you see the first Adam versus the Man in the Hole video, when you see Adam Kokesh, Man in the Hole, gotta have a sense of humor and a fighting hole video, you're seeing your entire catalog on YouTube. So it's overwhelming, Adam, for them to go from, here's a man in a combat zone in a war, to this is why I want to abolish the federal government. So anybody coming in on a Friday is going to be overloaded. But one thing I stress is that you've maintained consistency in your message. Somebody said, CJ, why don't you run for president? I said, fuck no. I'm going to vote for the man that wants to abolish the position. Why would I run for something that I fundamentally disagree with when I can put my vote to a man that's going to do the work to abolish it, lay out the plans? When I first started listening to you, Adam, you were on a show that I watch every day called Tinfoil Hat. I've told you, Sam Tripoli.
Yep, love that dude.
It's still I have this huge dream goal of Sam Tripoli coming out to Gardenia and the Freedom Factory and watching one of the best conspiracy politic, libertarian, volunteerist, sovereign, independent country, Gardenia, and go, these are conversations that are timeless, that are, it holds integrity, it holds weight even 10 years. I watched a video of you with a woman that was a street performer, and she's debating about socialism and capitalism.
Surprise, and you're a capitalist, yeah.
Yeah, right. That's just one. These are all videos that, if you go back, it's not you. I told Jim, it's not you. You preach love, forgiveness, passion, drive, determination. You are trying to be the founder of your own country. How can you look at yourself and go, I'm being censored as a punishment, when really it's the content? They don't fear you, the peon. You just said you were the media blip on the radar. It's the content of what you're saying. So how do you separate the truth you're saying from the overall broader conversation of censorship? Because it is a censorship of the truth. Right now, you're streaming on YouTube through my platform, but you're banned for a week.
You're like aiding and abetting an information fugitive.
Hey, wait. Is there a victim in this? I don't know if there's a victim in this, Google.
Yeah. Well, CJ,
how do you see it though, Adam?
You know, CJ, I got to answer your question by zooming out, and I think one of the most valuable things I bring to the conversation around freedom and and politics is that bigger picture perspective and sometimes the historical context. And from my reading of history, what happens when someone represents a message that truly challenges the existing power structure? I'm kind of grateful for the fact that they can shadow ban me so that they don't have to just fucking kill me. Because that's what happens. We're not making arts and crafts podcasts here, CJ.
No,
it is a strange phenomena of the point in time at which we live, where stepping in the information war and spreading a message of truth and love and freedom is the way that you intervene in murders. The system that we are challenging is murderous.
Correct.
The people who run it are more than happy to kill people for money. Do you think us Davids against the Goliath are really going to stand in their way? Because it's not David and Goliath; it's more like an ant and an 18-wheeler. We're not. If we don't figure out where to throw this rock, just never forget the significance of what we are doing. It's really easy to fall into routines and say, well, I'm just covering the news every day. I'm just spreading my message. I'm just helping these people who are victims of the state here, or helping with this cause or this organization or this candidate there. But what are we actually doing? Why do we do what we do? Never forget why. Simon Sinek, right? Start with why.
Okay.
I want to see a voluntary society where the criminal power structure that we live under today is impotent or non-existent.
Right.
That's why. Why do we do what we do? And if that's why, then what are we doing? We are focusing on, there's no build the new. When you say we're trying to get rid of a cancer, we're trying to stop an injustice. To a certain extent, the Buckminster-Fuller concept is really appealing. Don't fight the old system, build the new. But I think that's how they get people to disengage. By the way, little sidebar here, for all the, anarchist libertarians, I used to count myself among, although I just, as a matter of semantics, I think it's a stupid and inaccurate label. But if your government and you can get into the libertarian community and the libertarian movement that is challenging your power and say, oh no, don't fight the old system, just build the new.
Yeah.
Well, now there's no one to stop you just doing your thing. Let the anarchists have their little communes. Let Adam have gardenia in the mountains of Arizona. It's like, just leave us alone in our living rooms.
Yeah.
Give us our TVs and our microwaves and our steel belted radials, and we won't say anything. And it's like, don't vote, right? Don't vote, because voting is hopeless. And it has a really tempting intellectual and even ethical appeal to me to say, yeah, don't vote, don't endorse the system, but that's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. And there are people who I respect, who I know are not plants, who have bought into that argument. But if you go, well, geez, if you were in charge of government and you saw that there was an inevitable process of people waking up to your criminality and calling themselves libertarians as a result, what would you want those libertarians to do? Check out. Stop engaging. Go build a new system somewhere else. Don't fight the old. And there's no way around it. We are fighting the old. We are standing up to the injustice of the current power structure. We are standing in the way as best we can of a murderous system.
Yeah. And so when you say murderous, Adam, and I'm not going to argue with you. I think somebody like a Chris Cole would say, yeah, they off 22 fathers a day through family court. The United States military, through their perpetual wars creates the veterans 22 a day. We create these things, Adam, by the creation of government itself. So when I tell somebody like Chris, hey man, if we have, socialized wheelchair ramps where the government forces every business to make a business put a ramp at every place, or they are going to shut that business down, it comes at the cost of perpetual war and rape and pillage of resources and countries and the dollar. And I agree with my friend who's a democratic socialist who says it shouldn't have to come to that cost for that ramp, for that beneficial thing to society. How do you explain to somebody who will vote blue no matter who, or red until they're dead, in that mindset of it's just their social construct that they've been acclimated and acquiesced to? How do you sway somebody that's like, fuck Adam and CJ, they're both a bunch of idiots just on the internet. We've got yachts that we're taking out on the water, putting up our Trump flags, and to hell with them. How do you convince a parade of Trumplicans to listen to their own enslavement when they'd rather just stick their heads in their yachts and go down the river?
Well, I have two answers to that, CJ, and the second one the first one, though, is a point that I don't like, but I believe it has some merit to it. Okay. And again, an idea I got from Ernie Hancock, and he said it about when John McCain was running. And you remember John McCain as a presidential candidate, McCain Palin?
Yeah, can't get his arms above his shoulders or something. Yeah, Sarah Palin and her bear mom. Yeah, that whole facade.
When we saw the diehard McCain voters, Ernie Hancock said, you know what? In order to have a free society, we're just going to have to wait for a certain number of people to die.
Now, this is, okay, COVID-19.
No.
Thing.
No.
We just have to wait for the weak to die off, and then the healthy will inherit the earth.
No. This is a simple generational phenomena that I can prove mathematically to the extent that I believe it's a relevant factor.
Oh, please do.
Well, look at me, CJ. It took me 10 years from when I first identified as a libertarian to when I could understand what that word really meant. 10 fucking years. And I got to remind myself of that, every day that I go out and talk to statists. And it just gets to the core of, I think, a big part of my message is to be patient and persistent and loving, and be persistent in that love that motivates your activism, in whatever way it motivates you to stand up to injustice. It took me 10 years. And it was because I was not going to be, I was raised by a father who was vaguely conservative and a mother who was vaguely liberal, but they were both very much anti-authority. And when I got to voting age, when I became a man, according to the state, there's a ceremony now when you turn 18, you go to the DMV and you can have your balls dropped for you, if they have. Anyway, so for my situation, I had every advantage in life to become a libertarian, pretty much, other than explicit libertarianism in my life. And even from when I was when I was 18 and I was in high school, and I don't know, some civics teacher said, "All right, for class today, do you want to be a Democrat or Republican?" I said, "Wait, I have to be totally freaking lame. I don't have a choice. I thought this was America." And
you would be that one.
yeah,
Okay.
and so and I mean, I tell this story apocryphally. I don't remember how it exactly happened, but at some point a teacher said, "Well, you can be a libertarian. You can go over there with the crazy people and, you know, be left alone. They like to be left alone." And as a punk kid, it was just, I'm not going to be a Republican. Fuck that. I'm not going to be a Democrat. Fuck that, just as hard. What's left? All right, I could get libertarian. I like freedom. That, yeah, and I really, this is something that's important to me also for messaging, and I say this for you as a candidate, but any other libertarian party or political activists who are getting out there with the message. I was given the message of, I came to the Libertarian Party by my own initiative through that process. And the message, the way the Libertarian Party explained it to me was fiscally conservative, socially awkward. I'm sorry, socially liberal, fiscally conservative. And I didn't get the message as principle, because we are neither of those things.
No.
As a libertarian, I know that we are socially libertarian and fiscally libertarian, and these are totally distinct things, because conservatives and liberals say, well, we're okay using state violence for this.
Right, which is one thing libertarian doesn't. They have this thing that says, I certify that I oppose the initiation of force to achieve political or social goals.
So because I got the message of libertarianism as a political message instead of an ethical message, it didn't stop me from enlisting.
Yeah, you went, okay, so wait, you went, okay, so let me tell you this. I have somebody that is on my friends list from South Dakota, currently active duty, supports libertarianism. I think you would be somebody that would be good for him to listen to as well. I mean, how do you tell somebody, and this is as a veteran, I struggle with this too, Adam. How do we tell people that are currently active duty that this is what the government's doing and that they're still serving it even by their presence? How do you take that from somebody when they like, I believed in my heart of hearts, Adam, I was doing the right thing. I wanted to serve my country. I wanted to be honorable. And then I get there and now I'm security for oil companies and pharmaceutical contracts. And I go, but where's the freedom and the, why are all these people getting blown up on their way to the oil fields or on their way to go to the poppy fields? And why are we clearing this road so we can just patrol this one farm with opiates on it? Like, it makes no sense to me. And I say this, and Adam, I swear to God, in 2020, and I gotta say this for the record, this is why it can't be censored, your level of patriotism determined by the statist approach is how much do you conform, or in this case, I like to say, suck the dick of the president or whoever the ruling power is. Why does your service depend on your loyalty to a political party first?
Well, CJ, you know,
not for you or me, but the majority, Adam, the majority.
Yeah. No, well, so many different angles.
Think about the grunt at 1-5, who's a libertarian, who hears you saying this and goes, what do? I don't want to be dishonorable.
Okay, so especially in the age of coronaphobia and this sort of denial of science on behalf of authority, it's very important that we maintain that scientific mindset of objective analysis of data and challenging our assumptions in every way possible. And one of the assumptions it sounds like you're using here that I believe is incorrect is that people in the military are on average less aware than the general population of how they're being used as cannon fodder.
Do you think that there's more of a population that's aware?
The most offensive militarist bootlickers are not in the military.
They wanted to be.
Yeah.
They inspire the Kyle Rittenhouses. They inspire they play militia. We've talked about the MAGA militia.
Yeah.
I would have to assume that there's some elements of Antifa that would be considered the Biden militia.
Didn't they change their name to the Megatard Brigade?
I don't know, and nor would I follow it. But Adam, I mean, do you see yourself suiting up, carrying a gun, and going into some city like Kenosha to fight the Antifa? No, you don't. You know, like somebody like me, I go to the cornfield and I go, half of the people on the internet don't have enough, wouldn't come out and put in a day's work like this, let alone, you know, I mean, so I look at it like...
Let me make this point about the military and then go back to my second element of the solution, because I don't want to just sit around and wait for people to die, okay?
Yeah.
But I got to get back to that point. But about the military, most people in the military are there for mostly honorable reasons, or at least benign reasons. They genuinely, like for me, you know, I really was like 90% noble, 10% benign, self-serving, and 0 bad reasons for why I joined the military.
The dress blue uniform is one that's hard to resist.
Right. That's part of the 10% for me.
Yeah.
You know, getting smoke blown up your ass, you know, when walking around town in uniform, that feels good, right?
Showering with 70 dudes from all different places around the country with 4 bars of soap is not my idea of fun on a Saturday night. But you do it.
That's more of a Friday night kind of event, right? But no, hold on. Let me get to this about the military. Is that these are people who have at least shown some initiative to identify with what is legitimately still a warrior class of people who are willing to put their lives on the line to defend the innocent, to stand up for justice, and to do the right thing. And when you go and talk to them, I wouldn't assume that they're even any more pro-military or pro-militarism than the average American. Because that's the people. When I joined the military, it wasn't, well, because I believe in this institution and historically this is the way that we stand up for the free world, is that we have militaries and we organize like this with government. No, it was, I wanted to have my life on the line for something I believed in.
And you believe in freedom. And that's what they were saying they were selling.
Right, part of it. Yeah, I mean, it was even more simplistic than that. Just defend your country.
So right? When did you have that aha moment? When did it?
Hold on. So I would appeal to that inclination of theirs to serve. When I talk to someone in the military, I generally appeal to their own experience and say, "Come on, where did the government agent sign your contract? Wasn't that an enlistment document that binds you and not the government to anything?" And they go, "Oh yeah," and it's actually easier. You know, my start in full-time activism, of course, was Iraq Veterans Against the War, and we were overrepresented in the anti-war movement as veterans, as a community as a whole. And you know this, in the Libertarian Party, what the general population of U.S. veterans is something like, what, 13% of the population has served in the military at some point?
I don't know how much.
I forget, is it 9% or 13, something like that? But
I'll get it for you.
At libertarian events, it's never less than 20%, and usually closer to 30 to 40% are veterans. And I love doing that. You know, I go to libertarian events. Hey, raise your hand if you're a military vet. Don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to stand up and blow smoke up your butts. What's the number?
Currently, it's 1.3 million active duty, or just 1/2% currently serving. That's what I can find. There's been a total
percentage of the general population is veterans?
44.7 million have previously established wartime service.
That'd be about 13%.
But
330 million.
that's over the existence of 200 the existence of the country. If only 44.7 million.
All right. We are overrepresented in the libertarian movement because it's not just, we were in the military and we figured these things out. We are still motivated by the same things. We are still the selfless warrior class. And that's what I appeal to when I talk to veterans or when, with the show, when we address the veterans community, I try to keep that in mind and appeal to that. And that generally leads people to, militant anti-militarism, as I have embraced, you could say.
Yeah.
But CJ, and I'm happy to go back to this, but I don't want to leave your audience hanging on the bigger question here where I said there were two things. And one was, when you say, what do you do when you asked me, about talking to the diehard partisan voters, right? And one answer is, we're going to have to wait for some people to die. And I hate to say it that way because it's not entirely true. But if you look at how long it takes people to wake up and really embrace the message, and even for someone like me, 10 whole years.
Yeah.
If you're 70 years old and you don't expect to live to 80, why the fuck would you invest any time modifying your worldview at all? Why? Enjoy the golden years. Fuck it. Let the world burn. Go vote Republican, Democrat. Would you really advise, like if you had a grandparent right now who was 80 years old on their deathbed, would you tell them to read my book if they didn't enjoy shit like that? Fuck no. Tell them to go smoke cigars and feed the birds and play your
watch
bridge
the sunset and enjoy your day.
Yeah, and if anything, please stay out of the way of those of us who are trying to fix the mistakes you made, right? But those people are still going to come out and vote because they have to preserve their Social Security, and that's a Chinese finger trap kind of situation.
But America will never be a socialist country, Adam.
Yeah, it has been for a very long time, CJ. We know.
Do you think
this.
Since before you and me were born?
Oh, certainly well before. I mean, Social Security is older than. I mean. I would say the country turned socialist with the coup of 1789, or was it 1787? I guess was the ratification.
You preach the Constitution is an illegitimate document. Now, why do you do that?
Because it is. Because it's the product of an illegal coup. It's an unethical government that is by coercion instead of by consent. It is in direct violation of the tenets of the Declaration of Independence, which says, governments by the consent of the governed, and the Articles of Confederation were the legal if you call yourself a constitutionalist, that means one of two things: either you believe in the current authority without question, and you believe in this Constitution, in which case it's a meaningless thing. You might as well say I just love sucking authoritarian dick, or you believe in the concept of humans coming together to create voluntary governments and writing the terms down in clear ways that ascribe.
Are you against constitutions?
No, I would say that I am a constitutionalist in that true sense. The government that I'm creating for Gardenia is a constitutional proprietarian monarchy. And what that means is, because I own it, I'm the king, because I said so. It's a legitimate monarchy. It's a legitimate rule because I'm not claiming ownership or authority over anything that's not my property. How about that, right? And it's constitutional in the sense that I have a sign on my gate that, at least for now, lays out the rules for my property, right? But eventually I plan to have it written out in what I would call a Constitution of Gardenia that explicitly explains the authority that I am claiming here. But CJ, I want to get to point number 2.
Yes.
And this is, I think you will agree, the really critical element of localization and my campaign and what we're offering. And I'm going to preface this with what to me is an important understanding of libertarianism that most libertarians miss. If you identify as an anarchist, and to you that means that governments are wrong and should never exist, and you don't want to allow anybody else to have a government, or you are a minarchist, and to you that means that governments should fill specific minimal functions that you deem necessary, in either case, you are not a libertarian. If a libertarian is someone who believes in freedom, you have to believe in my freedom to create a voluntary government, as long as it's non-coercive, it's ethical, it's not violating anybody's rights, that's as big or as small as I want and can achieve. If I want to live...
Next logical question to that statement, Adam, is okay, so in Gardenia, your constitutional proprietarian monarchy, where are the rules written? Is it just like it's a constitution?
It's going to be a page on my website. That's it.
Okay, I'll put it up at some point for you. But my point is that, so you put your rules down on the paper, and they have to follow what's the guiding principle? Is in libertarianism, volunteerism, agorism. I've heard you talk about. These are the principles.
It's my property. It's ownership. Right, I own it. I claimed it. I bought it. I put a fence around it. Fuck you. I'm going to do what I want with it.
Right, but then that United States government's like, you can have Gardenia, but we're going to put sanctions on you now. Because
I would love that. I would love to be so diplomatically recognized by the federal government of the United States of America to be subject to sanctions.
But this is what's going to come when you try this, Adam, because I mean, it sounds like 11 acres in the desert. No, sorry, not a desert, that extra inch of rain a year. But my point is that when you say, I'm creating a sovereign country with at least a single border around it all. Is it all bordered 365 degrees United States? So you're saying I'm going to put a spot on the map that the government has no authority. And when somebody hears that, Adam, the first time I heard it, I'm like, okay, he's the king of Gardenia. What does that even mean? And I had to process this. Okay, so is there going to be a police force? Is there going to be, or is it just King Adam Charles Kokesh, judge, jury, executioner? I mean, these are questions, but I don't even think it matters.
I lost you on the audio here, CJ, because I was getting a call. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Yeah,
no. Can you hear me?
Hold on.
I mean,
yeah, I lost. Give me just a second here.
We can cut this short. I mean, again, it's an interesting conversation.
All right.
Can you hear me?
All right, I got it back. Yeah, I got it back. No, I didn't have my call forwarding on. So
I was just saying, this is an interesting conversation.
Who calls people without texting first? What kind of fucking psychopath thinks they can just butt into this conversation?
I've called you unannounced before, so I guess me. But Adam, again, I go back to I'm helping produce this show, and for a second I kind of see what you're saying with Gardenia, but as the executive producer, I'm going into this with the mindset of I'm helping you document this as well. I'm helping you keep that message of consistency and content that's welcoming, and people would, if they hear you once, they'll want to hear you at least twice, at least hear the man out. I want to be able to do that because if you're successful, Adam, in what you're planning on doing, it's historic. It's not to the point where you'll form your own country and then run for president of the neighboring country.
Well, hold on. I have totally thought that part of this through, CJ.
Okay.
First of all, I will be maintaining dual citizenship in Gardenia and the United States.
Okay, so we got that.
Second of all, if they try to tell me that, Adam, you're not eligible to run for president because you live in another country, guess what? we fucking win, like on a whole bigger level. So but let me bring it back. I got to finish this point, CJ.
Yes.
Because to go back to your first big question, right? How do you deal with the diehard partisan statists, right? And you have to appeal to them at a practical level, and that's what localization does. And that's why I truly believe that in a way that transcends ideology, balkanization is the answer to the Leviathan. That, excuse me, ultimately it's we have to bring government down to the community level because the community is a voluntary as opposed to a coercive unit. And I told people this, and this is I mean, you know, say what you want about the corruption of the Libertarian Party nominating process, but we did generally fail to make the point that localization is an easier sell than libertarianism. And instead of trying to tell people, hey, you got to agree with me on everything, here's this philosophy and this is how it's applied, you can say, look, keep your worldview, keep your conservative statism or your liberal statism, but have it on a local level and don't force it on me over here. Can we do that? Can we start with that? And what I failed to get the majority of Libertarian Party delegates to understand or to accept was what I got from my experience.
What was that? With
this campaign, which is that when I'm talking to statists, it is 10 times easier to convince them of localization than libertarianism. And it's much more in the spirit of camaraderie and brotherhood, because people take their politics as part of their identity, whether they should or they shouldn't. It's a bad ego attachment identity kind of thing.
But Adam, as a voter who's like, I'm attaching my political identity in my vote to saying I'm voting.
So don't challenge that. Exactly. Localization says I don't have to challenge you on that. You can hold on to that. In fact, you can have that strengthened, right? Because when you ask someone, hey, come vote for a libertarian so that you can live under a libertarian, you're asking them to change their identity. And I'm not saying it's good or it's right. Like if we could get all those dumb, tightly wound status motherfuckers doing yoga and meditation and psychedelics, none of this would be a problem. Right? Just to be that to be in that mentality of Zen centeredness and non-attachment and emotional freedom, then none of this would be an issue. But it is. And when you go to someone and say, vote Joe Jorgensen to be president of the United States, you're saying, be a libertarian. When I say, vote for Adam Kokesh so that we can dissolve the federal government of the United States and your state can be sovereign, I'm giving you the opposite of that. Instead of taking something, I'm not asking you to, I am asking you to give up a certain element of nationalism as you know it, a certain tradition of nationalism. I'll give you that. I'm asking people to give up something. What?
It's the dog and pony show of nationalism that you're asking.
Right. Well, but I am asking people to give up that concept of the United States as exists and defined by, for most of them, by the federal government. But I am not taking their identity. I am not telling them you are now going to be an American living under a libertarian federal government. I'm telling them, look, whatever it is that you and your state you want, you get more of that. Yeah. And it's easy. And this was one of my big talking points in the campaign, is that I can go to the average American and say, hey, you're a liberal, you live in a liberal state, or you're a conservative and you live in a conservative state. Why do you want to be tied to those crazy assholes over there that are going to force you into a system where you're both going to lose and the bankers and the politicians are going to win? Why, when instead you could say, hey, I love you as a fellow human being. We disagree politically. You're a Massachusetts liberal. I'm a Texas conservative. But why should we fight over a policy that's going to be forced on all of us when we can respect our right as Americans And I think this transforms. This isn't like some people say, Adam, you're destroying America. And it's like, did you really define America based on this fucked up leech on our ass known as the federal government?
Have you
Fuck
been watching?
As an American, fuck you for suggesting that I am ending America by ending the federal government. Really?
Yeah.
No, we get rid of the federal government. We are reclaiming and strengthening what it means to be an American.
Okay, so Adam, I've got a statement to make, and then I've got 2 questions for you, and then we can wrap this up because I know your time is valuable, sir. So first,
I got guests waiting for me at home, and I got hardware from the Home Depot. I got to go install.
Yeah, so you can have a shower
tonight.
Yes. So I do appreciate your time, Adam. Like I said, you inspired a lot of my political talking points. I boil it down to, like, when I was running for governor, when you wake up in the morning, do you say, do I care what CJ Abernathy has to say about what I do with myself? If the answer is no, then go about your day. Just don't hurt people. Don't take their stuff. It's a pretty simple concept that everybody seems to understand. So
as a libertarian, I endorse this message.
as your executive producer, I appreciate that. Now, so my first question for you is, where do you see Adam versus the Man by next year? What's your big mile point that you see the show in, and dealing with the censorship? And then my last question is, where can people find your content, sir, to reach out to you?
Well, I love my parents very dearly, and both of them have significant experience in business. And so when they see me doing Adam versus the Man and really building it out as a business, they're like, Adam, all right, write a business plan. And you've seen our business plan, and it's pretty extensive. And I have a lot of opportunities, and I have a lot of ways that I would like to grow the program as we bring in more resources, as we build the audience. But as I reminded you earlier, we're not building a business so much as going into battle. And I know you've heard this before. No battle plan has ever survived enemy contact. That's kind of how combat works. And I could tell you, well, we're going to have 1 million subs on YouTube, and we're going to be back at 2 million views a day. And no, I can't even say that. That's not in my control. What if YouTube just says, fuck you, you're off the platform now because you said this about Corona?
Which
right?
is possible.
That's not unreasonable now, considering they are already using Corona as the excuse for so much more censorship than ever before. Then it's going to be the excuse for complete deplatforming. Oh yeah, Adam, we did an inventory of your content. We found out last year you said that the Corona wasn't as bad as government said, so you're just not allowed on YouTube anymore, right? I mean, like, that's so. I have a, and I have lots of goals and visions. We got the Freedom Factory coming. We're going to have a dedicated studio office building. I think that, in terms of just having the facility here, that's going to make a huge difference. And I think one way or another, we are going to be able to keep growing the audience, even if it's a very slow word of mouth kind of growth. And, we have to find alternative mechanisms of distribution from social media and email lists and things like that. And who knows, maybe we'll be dropping leaflets into New York City telling people to watch Adam versus the Man on their ham radios, But no, what I'm confident with is that I'm gonna show up. And when we started this production, I said I'm gonna show up in a good mood, ready to talk and entertain and inform for
Every
2 hours a day.
week.
But you know what? I can be ready to entertain and inform even when I'm in a shitty mood, as we saw last week.
Or driving down a highway.
But no, I am really grateful to have the organization and the people supporting my message and my voice. Especially obviously you and Jim and Marcus and everyone in the Producers Club. You know, I could even put financial goals on this, right? But until we have a truly functionally independent Bitcoin ecosystem, I can't even say, well, yeah, I want to make. I mean, right now, you know, we're making somewhere around $1,000 a month with everything around
Give
the
or
show,
take,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, and you know, it's a start.
I mean, it's
and I
not
know
zero. It's not
Right,
zero.
yeah, no. And I know that we're going to keep building that one way or another.
Yeah.
So, you know, I kind of take the attitude of a Marine in this. I'm going to show up and I'm going to do my job and I'm going to follow my orders without question. But in this case, now my orders come not from any government, but from my conscience. And my conscience says that I must do everything I reasonably can to serve justice. And that means taking care of myself and living reasonably well, not luxuriously by any means, of course, but to live comfortably. And I think what I've laid out is my ambitions for a homestead. You know, I could talk about, like, it's more reasonable to say I have sort of personal financial goals of wanting to build out my homestead and wanting to be able to support a family. You know, but when it comes to Adam versus the man, where are we going to be in a year? I'm going to talk for 2 hours a day, Monday through Friday, and we're going to fucking find out. And we're going to keep getting censored, and we're going to keep getting challenged, and I'm going to keep showing up until they fucking shoot me.
Adam, I appreciate you coming on my broadcast. I am dedicated to this message. I'm dedicated to putting in this work. One thing I've appreciated about you is that you understood that I had to take a little bit of time to go support my family, that I'm doing this as a voluntary startup, that we're working to this bigger goal. But I assure you, every step of the way, I will work hard for you. I will try to help evolve with you and document it the best I can to the best of my abilities. I do, I'm, as a producer note here, want to remind everybody to go to adamversustheman.com where you can.
God, I look so young in that photo.
We need to update, and that's. But you know, I did put together this incredible shop where, again, I love the hat. If you had to buy a shirt for every time you said as a libertarian, we've even sold a fanny pack. If you can believe that, we have sold a fanny pack. So
well, that's because I explained why I used to carry a fanny pack. It's a great way for concealed carry.
Right. And so, but Adam, it's bigger than that. And I want people to know I'm always that guy, internet warlord. I'm sovereign in my own little internet bubble here. What my rule, my kingdom, you know, when I don't want this apocalyptic future for my family and my friends. I don't want to live in this dystopian, distorted reality and this fucked up government. I want freedom. I want love. I want family and friends, and I want to work hard for the causes I believe in. And I believe me when I tell you, I'm compelled to volunteer and to compelled to push myself, not in a sense of maybe it's 10% self-serving. Can we say 10%? Like, I think, is there a uniform? I mean, it's a pretty cool uniform, but I appreciate what you do and the opportunity. I was telling Jim last night, you know, my goal is that by the end of 2021, Adam Kokesh, Adam versus the Man, Freedom is a household name in America in the political conversation. And I want to get to that level where you might not listen to him every day, but damn it, you at least know he's out there 5 days a week telling you the truth about the crimes the government commits against the people. And Adam, again, anything else you got? Like I said, sir, it's been an honor.
Well, that's my one big goal to get ready for 24. And when we came into the 2020 Libertarian Party presidential primary, I was shocked to find that I had the most name ID of any of the candidates by far. And it's still, I thought I would have been way behind on that count. That and of course, yeah, I'm not saying I have more than Justin Amash, but when we started, and for the majority of the field, I mean, they were like, "It's you and Lincoln Chafee," and everybody was like, "Who the fuck is Lincoln Chafee?" Like, okay. But what I brought to the table for Name ID and an existing following was still not enough to say that it had legitimate strategic value. Well, I don't know. Maybe that's being too harsh, but yeah, to get to the point where we should do that and be ready for 2024. And I want to end on two notes. One, just to be grateful for your audience making your show possible, and to remind people that if you're watching this show because you appreciate this message, share it. This technology means nothing without deliberate, conscientious use, and for those of us in independent media, that means we depend on having not just people watching, but active and engaged audiences that support our productions and share our content, because we don't have the corporate sponsorship, but we are still going up against those who do. And second, about this, like, that I want to be a celebrity, right? I want my name ID. I mean, I want to be a household name. And I think everybody who is in this information battle for the right reasons should want that. There's some who want to say behind the scenes, that's fine. I totally respect, different roles for different people. But there's a very dangerous sort of self-destructive attitude in our movement in a lot of ways, to see this as a competitive as opposed to a cooperative endeavor. And I see too many people tearing each other down, cutting people off. And I've experienced this myself, and I'm extremely accessible by cell phone, most by text message. Most people, who want it can get my number. It's not hard. I'm extremely responsive by text message. I don't skip texts. I'm always respond to everything within a few hours unless I'm asleep.
And as I heard on yesterday's show, you can just get a hold of CJ or Jim, and we'll get a hold of Adam if it's really that important.
Yeah, no, because I wonder if my text messages get fucked with sometimes, right?
It wouldn't surprise me.
But I know this sounds like a bit of a rambling preface to what I'm trying to get at here. And it's this, like the anarchy-minarchy divide. It's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. I've never cut anybody off in my life because I was upset with them. I have blocked 2 people by text message, and it was because they were just persistently here. It was just crazy people who were harassing me, But
would you block somebody that was saying, "Hey, I'm gonna murder you in your sleep"? No, you wouldn't.
No, I'd want to listen to that person very carefully.
But that's the point of censorship you make, is that your neighbor could be racist, your other neighbor could be a pedophile, and you won't know
but
these
CJ,
things.
that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is just a general attitude of divisiveness in society in general, and right now especially. And I fall for this myself. I never cut people off. I think that's incredibly dehumanizing and immature, to just cut someone off and ignore them entirely. I've had it done to me, and it hurts.
Well, how do you conflict that with the voluntarist mentality? If you're no longer volunteering to have a relationship, why should I let people that I'm like, I don't want to give you access to me in that manner? Why would you still allow that if you don't want to volunteer for those consenting relationships?
Because they're human beings, and every human being should be respected in their ability to cry out for help to other human beings.
I agree with you in that.
And I understand if you have a certain relationship that is so toxic, or is just a crazy person harassing you, you cut them off for practical reasons. That's not what I'm talking about. Okay. I'm talking about like personal disputes that turn into just dead end relationships where things are just cut off, and I don't talk to you anymore. I don't work with that person anymore.
One day they say they love you, the next day they say you're dead to me.
Yeah, we cannot give in to that hatred. We have to stay loving. We have to stay humane. And we cannot let that divisiveness keep us from working together as a movement. We have to have a sense of camaraderie, not just within the freedom movement, but for all of humanity as victims of the current power structure that we know in the world today. And right now, like I want to say, I have fallen for this. I guess I've never cut anybody off just because, like, oh, you said something I didn't like. Well, fuck you, you're blocked. Now your text messages go into a black hole. No, I've never done that to anybody. But I have stepped back from relationships for bad reasons, out of fear and in moments of weakness, forgetting the divine beauty of every human soul and my intent to respect that as best I can every day of my life. And I see humanity right now in so many ways divided, as we might in a cliche political sense say, polarized, but at a spiritual level under this dark cloud of coronaphobia, isolated and cut off from each other more than ever before. And the temptation to just say, fuck you, I'm not going to talk to you anymore, I'm not going to work with you because I heard this rumor about you, or I don't like the way your hair looks today, or you said this one thing that is contrary to the non-aggression principle as I understand it. Fuck that. We have to pull together. And, I love that as a libertarian, I get criticized for working with people on the right by people on the left and vice versa. And for the kinds of people we have on as guests on the show who obviously disagree with libertarianism, I don't say, well, if you don't agree with me, I can't talk to you. And I think as libertarians, we are especially vulnerable to these kinds of bad ideas that lead us to be more isolated in our communities. Because I'm not just a libertarian, I'm an anarcho-paleo, homesteading, socialist, caucus, libertarian, thrice removed on my grandfather's side. So fuck you if you're not in my camp.
Gardenian. He's a Gardenian.
He's a Gardenian libertarian.
He's a Gardenian libertarian, yeah.
I think I said this in my interview with Dan Taxationist Theft Berman yesterday, that you could divide society into three different groups. There are the truly evil assholes who are willing to hurt and kill people and rob our potential and our material wealth to serve themselves, and as a result hold back the progress of humanity. There's the majority of humanity that wouldn't understand this division into three groups if they heard it, who are more or less going along with the program. And then there are those of us who are conscientiously and deliberately in direct opposition to the current power structure, pulling humanity towards a state of greater love and harmony and freedom against the injustice of the current system. And we need to hold each other very close. But don't worry, there are a lot more of us than there are of them. Not the masses, but who are the ones really pulling towards evil? The super class of a few hundred, maybe few thousand people in the world, and their lackeys in governments and corporate governance structures? No. There are way more of us than there are of them. But
I got a bonus question for you.
They are more united, and they work together better than we do. And I want, if I could change one thing about the culture of the libertarian movement, it would be to give us a sense of that love and connectedness and understanding that would allow our truly greater force based on love and truth and more manpower than the evildoers have, so that we can stand up and defeat them as a unified movement. And it's not because we have to be on the same page in the same organization, but we do work much more effectively when we are communicating and cooperating rather than trying to compete or tear each other down to see who can be the most famous celebritarian.
Adam, you inspire me every day, sir. I appreciate you joining me tonight on short notice as more of like I don't know if I call it a favor or more of a genuine acceptance of an invitation. I felt like out of all the people that I wanted to talk to in 2020 and my platform, on my brand, with my logo, with my image for it, I'm glad I'm talking to you about it. I do believe that if we don't vote right this year, we will all die, because it is the most important election of our. I'm being facetious with you, Adam, but I truly do believe in your message. I truly do.
People will die.
I know.
People will die. People will die between 20 and 24 because America is still fucking up.
And that is why I wanted to bring you on. For posterity, sir. A message for posterity. Adam Kokesh, everybody. Thank you again, sir. Anything else?
Peace and love, y'all.
All right. Adam Kokesh, everybody. Again, humbled and honored, sir. Thank you for joining me. And I hope to get to do this again with you sometime on my broadcast. But I will see you in the after the cornfields. Hopefully I can make a trip to Gardenia and go help out a third world country. No, I absolutely love what you're doing and appreciate and grateful for you. 2020's fucked up. One thing, as being the executive producer, I listen to Adam and I hear his message and I believe in it. And I want you to know that I took away one thing from what he was saying. There's three types of people. You guys have a good night or don't. The choice is always yours.
What would you do if you were asked to give up your dreams for freedom? What would you do if asked to make the...
Hey, weren't you the actor in that Broadway show? Hey, yeah, it is you. Do that scene where everyone gets AIDS. I don't act anymore. I gave that up. Oh, come on, man, just a scene. I said get away from me! I'm completely lost. I've hit rock bottom. Easy, easy. Whoa, you gotta calm down there, Chuck. I hurt people. I'm a dick.
Well, being a dick ain't so bad. See, there's three kinds of people. Dicks, pussies, and assholes. Pussies think everyone can get along, and dicks just want to fuck all the time without thinking it through. But then you got your assholes, Chuck. And all the assholes want us to shit all over everything. So pussies may get mad at dicks once in a while because pussies get fucked by dicks. But dicks also fuck assholes, Chuck. And if they didn't fuck the assholes, you know what you'd get? You'd get your dick and your pussy all covered in shit.
We have before us the opportunity to forward ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law and the law of the jungle governs the conduct of nations.
A warlord is a leader able to exercise military, economic, and political control over a subnational territory within a sovereign state due to their ability to